Once upon tomorrow. The bracing was brief, the battle briefer still. A single swipe of sharpened claws, and then the silence fell. In the shock of the following moments, the beast's blazing gaze fell upon what was a most diminutive opponent. With near pure white eyes too big for her head, and a soft tawny coat all stood on end, a tiny kitten with her claws digging in clung with a hug to his snout. "Wow!" she said with some authority, the first to break her silence. The beast preferred to maintain his own. His eyes narrowed. This was not the challenge to his lordship that he had been expecting. In the near distance, Snowy hooted quizzically, clearly wondering what had happened. The beast had no answer. He knew he could snap the tiny critter up with a single bite, and it would barely sate his slightest appetite. But the furry thing's big eyes and its affectionately empty-headed stare stirred different and inconveniently nobler instincts in what he liked to think of as his blackened heart. With a sharp shake of his head, the beast spun the kitten off of his face to land in a sprawled lump in the grass. She snorted in his direction, shook her own head, and remained undeterred. With her dainty back arched, she strutted up to him and bumped her head into his leg, in the way that kittens do. The beast was at a loss. He was the lord of the land, and she the intruder. This head-bumping was not at all how such matters were to be handled. The beast was still considering this when Snowy hooted a warning in the distance. His senses now alerted, he heard the sounds of footsteps getting close, and remembered that the kitten hadn't been alone. The beast turned to face the second intruder just as a man's face pressed through the leaves to see him. The sight took the beast aback. What was a man doing in the woods? What was a person of any sort doing anywhere outside of one of those dismal ruins of theirs? Now that he was closer, within reach of a single leap or bound, the scent of the human overwhelmed the beast's senses. The man had obviously not been in one of the broken cities for quite some time, for the smell of a long journey radiated from him. From his black, bristled beard wafted the scents of smoke and old food, mostly berries and bark, and whatever else hadn't run away. The beast knew that humans were feeble, especially when they were alone, as this one was. Food would have been a challenge. As would washing, evidently. The man's clothes smelled of the road, and the dirt, and the grass. They smelled of the forests he'd passed through, and the plains he'd crossed. They smelled of sap and of cinder. They smelled of rain and of moss. It was like a road map for the blind, and with a single sniff, the beast knew almost everywhere the man had been. Of course, where the man had been mattered less to the beast than where the man was stood at that very moment. And where the man was stood was in the beast's woods. The forest rumbled with the beast's menacing growl, and the man's eyes went wide with fright. From somewhere out of sight, Snowy whistled a warning call, and the kitten hissed and spat. The beast bounded forward. The man stumbled back.